I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and today's question comes from, well, everyone. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't directed specifically at me, but at, well, everything. It goes simply, what do we do now? For those of you in the far-flung future reviewing this archived footage, we are currently living through something of a pandemic. Naturally, it has us all a bit on edge. People are scared, they're frightened, they don't know what the future holds. And so I thought I might offer up some of my limited perspective as an individual born in the late 19th century. I have seen some of this before. I, of course, am talking about having lived through the great Spanish influenza epidemic of 1918, which I've been informed actually most likely did not originate in Spain, but rather had its origins in Kansas. If that's true, then I need to reassess many of the things I've thought about Spaniards, but it also reaffirms absolutely everything I've ever felt about Kansans. That particular ordeal left a great scar on my generation. It rocked our faith in the structures of the world, and while we came through on the other side, we were all very changed, and I think it's important to recognize that a similar change is going to happen now. There's no escaping it. We will hopefully not experience the same loss and hardship that epidemic put us through, but nevertheless, it is going to be a whole new world we are facing. Now, luckily for this particular era, the medical science has improved dramatically, and we are very well informed about how to handle these pandemics. I trust that all of you are following the medical guidelines of washing your hands thoroughly, maintaining basic personal hygiene, and, of course, practicing the art of social distancing. Now, I can expect that many of you are cracking a bit of a smirk at me and saying, oh, social distancing shouldn't be hard for H.P. Lovecraft, he hated people. Well, of course, that's not true. I was a very sociable person. I may not have liked large crowds or living in large, cramped urban settings, but I did like people. I wouldn't have engaged in voluminous correspondence with dozens of people throughout my life if it were not for that love of people. And I think in light of that, we have to understand that social distancing can have real dramatic impact. We are a social species. We crave connection. We're a species of storytellers. And if we have no one to whom we can tell those stories, well, it begins to crack us up a bit. So, one thing I wanted to really hammer home is that you need to maintain connection with those around you, even if they are not physically present. Find ways to reach out. Letter writing is, of course, a wonderful way of doing this, but you have other technologies at hand to help you with this whole process. One thing letter writing can do is also to help you reaffirm a sense of time. In traumatic events like this, time can become amorphous. We begin to lose track of our days. Our sense of regularity begins to melt away. We don't have the same structures, the same schedules. And so writing letters is a wonderful way of marking the time, of noting just who you were when all this happened. There's other ways of doing this as well, of course. Keeping a journal, writing stories, writing poetry, creating art, all of this does wonderful work of just hammering home who you are now. Because this moment will never see its like again. And whatever world we see on the other side of it will look nothing like this moment now or the world that preceded it. And so the more art you create, the more you address just who you were in the here and now, the better it will inform not only the past, but also the future in which we are headed. I do hope you keep that in mind, as well as keeping in mind the importance of that connection. I do need to reaffirm that you are not alone. I mean, obviously you're cosmically alone, and that we're all alone in this gaping, careless void that has no need for us, etc., but in the personal, you're not alone. If nothing else, rest assured that you are noticed and you are delighted by me, H.P. Lovecraft. As always, I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Thank you.